In 2011, I sat down to create the name for this feeling I'd had within me for years. I would now say that I was naming my soul. I knew that there were two feelings. One felt like an action, and the other felt like an essence. What came through was pushing beauty, an embodied action, a recognition of the truth I could feel at my core, to share the beauty of life. You might be confused to hear that, considering my life's work revolves around processing emotional pain, but in my most painful moments, I have come to find beauty. These moments have taught me that there's beauty everywhere if we're willing to bear witness to it. I named Pushing Beauty before I knew what it would become, and that's because I hadn't yet experienced what I needed to in my life. I hadn't found breathwork yet. I hadn't confronted my inner world, transformed my life, processed my emotions, and gathered my wisdom. Once that process began to take place, things started to make sense. Pushing Beauty began as a place where I was sharing my writing about my life experiences. Eventually, it became the place I offered healing work to support others on their journeys. Since recognizing the calling of my soul, I have considered my business what I call a soul-based business. It's not a creation of my mind and ego, but an expression of my soul. During my earlier years when I was struggling financially, the desperation of survival meant that there were times I wasn't always making choices from my soul. That hasn't been the case in years. As I healed and worked on developing a deep trust in my relationship to the universe, I only began to make choices that were in alignment with my soul. So I thought I'd share with you some of the principles that I base my business off of. For me, this is really just about being in integrity with myself. It's not like I created a bunch of foundational rules for my business and then reflect on them when a decision comes up. It's simply about me being in alignment with my soul, something that I'm always in tune with each moment of my day. There's no judgment around ways that other people run their businesses, and these aren't fixed rules. As I said, I'm always checking in to see what feels right to me, and I'm always growing. Over the years, these are some of the trends that I've noticed in the way I run what I call a soul-based business. So number one, I don't say yes to things that don't feel aligned. This is really the foundation. If it feels aligned, I consider it. If it doesn't, it's a no for me. This is gonna sound vague, I know, because it's based on what speaks to me or doesn't. I'm gonna give some more concrete examples later on, but it all comes down to this. Number two, I'm willing to let go. What I mean by this is that I'm not gonna be bound to something that no longer feels aligned to me. I have plenty of examples of this in my past. I started a podcast and stopped it when it didn't light me up anymore. I ran a membership community for a few years that began to feel out of alignment. Closing that community down meant disappointing some people, but it also meant losing a revenue stream for me, and I did it anyway. To some people who don't know me, this might sound like I have commitment issues. I don't. In fact, in my past, I have often stayed too long. So running a soul-based business to me means that I'm gonna honor when something is complete. Because creativity is a foundational force of reality, I know that I will always have new ideas to pursue, and being willing to let go means that I'm making room for something to come in that's gonna be more fulfilling for me and for those who engage with it. This doesn't mean that I bail out in the middle of an agreement. If I'm working with a client for 4 months and I'm getting the message that it's time to close that particular program, I will wait until I'm really sure that that's what I need to do. And I will, of course, complete my agreement before I end things. And of course, because I work with others, I always try to give a bit of notice so that people have enough time to get acclimated to the changes. 3, I don't believe in the opportunity. So I don't believe that I need someone else in order to be successful, to make money, or to be seen. So therefore, I don't believe in this idea that I can't pass up on this opportunity. I will never say yes to something because it could be a good opportunity. I've been there before, and it's a scarcity mindset. If something feels like a hell yes to me in terms of collaboration, it's not gonna feel like an opportunity. It's gonna feel like alignment. If I'm seeing something as an opportunity, that means that I'm engaging with it from the perspective of what it's gonna do for me. And I wanna run my business from a place of what I'm giving. There's always an energy exchange happening, so I am receiving as well, but it's not from a place of needing it to grow my business. It always has to feel an integrity for me, and using someone for what they can do for me is gonna be inauthentic, and ultimately, I don't believe it ends up working. Number 4, I don't believe in competition. There may be thousands of breathwork facilitators, thousands of writers, thousands of creators on the planet, but none of them are me. There may be another breathwork facilitator teaching on self-love and offering programs and one-on-one sessions that seem very similar to me. They still aren't my competition. And I'm really not saying this in an arrogant way, but in an honest way. Each one of us is entirely unique. And if we're willing to be true to ourselves, that uniqueness is gonna shine through everything we're doing and leave our fingerprint on it. To me, viewing others as competitors feeds the belief that there's not enough for us all and that we have to be pitted against one another in order to survive. I don't choose to live from that place because I want to see everyone succeed, and I trust that I have a place on this planet that is important and my own. My 2 feet can touch the ground and take up space just like everyone else's. I don't have to fight anyone in order to succeed. That's the old model, and it doesn't feel aligned to me. 5, I don't do anything for appearances. I'm committed to my own healing, so that means that I don't say yes to things that appeal to any self-worth wounds I might have. So for example, I self-published my book because I was aligned with what needed to come through me, and I knew that my book was gonna support people. I didn't need to seek out publishing, and that's not to say at all that it's wrong or bad, but I do know for many people it can feel legitimizing to be published by a publishing house, even if they don't give you anything for it. I'm good. I know who I am, what I have to say, and I'm happy to let the universe take care of the rest. Doesn't mean that I may not publish somewhere else, it's just an example. Because I'm running a soul-based business, I'm willing to say no to things that might look appealing to the mainstream or are things that our society values because it doesn't feel right to me. I have a deep trust in the universe. Everything comes down to trust for me. I believe that I'm fully supported, that I have something to offer, and that I have many different things that I can do with my existence. What I'm currently doing is an expression of myself, and I'm open and willing for it to evolve just as I do. My business is an expression of me. I'm an evolving person. As I grow, my business will grow with me. I'm not afraid to make changes to my work, to discontinue things, to reinvent things, because my business always needs to feel like it's energetically matched with me. In 2021, I got a clear message to delete 3,000 Instagram posts, remove some of my offerings, and take down years of writing. This wasn't about wiping the slate clean and removing traces of former versions of myself. It was about making sure my work is a reflection of who I am now, not who I was 5 years ago. There are still some pieces I wrote years ago and offerings that felt energetically matched and are still alive on my site. Much of what I removed was like a digital energy cleanse, and it created space for more of myself to be revealed. There is so much more to share about running a soul-based business, and if you have a specific question, you're welcome to leave a comment or email me, and I'll consider sharing more in the future. I do some one-on-one soul-based business mentoring if you need some support in that area. For those of you who are desiring to start your own business, my signature business course is a self-study offering, and it's called Overcoming the Fear of Being Seen and Heard in Your Business, which I'll link to in the show notes. My next episode is called What I Learned After 7 Years Single. And this is a topic I have talked very little about over the last few years. In it, I share 7 valuable lessons I've learned through being single when I really wanted to be in a relationship.